I think that a couple of variables here for me. One is the person a conventional deadlifter or a sumo deadlifter? That actually would impact a little bit in terms of what the kind of contributors and limiters of their performance tend to be. So, you know, as far as somebody tends to be a conventional deadlifter, then I think that sparing unnecessary back fatigue from squat training becomes a higher priority. For somebody who's a sumo deadlifter, that's a little bit, it's not a concern, but it's a little bit less of a concern, particularly if they're the kind of sumo deadlifter who can achieve a super upright back position. And especially for that lifter, I think that I would definitely want to maintain a high amount of quad training for a sumo deadlifter because that's an important aspect of initiating that lift. But it might switch to a way of quad training that actually spares the back. So, like, I would love a box squat, or sorry, a belt squat, or like, I don't know if you remember a few years back when like the pit shark was like the hot thing in powerlifting, right? Yeah, so I would probably, I mean, if it were me in that situation, I would probably drop down to squatting once a week. I don't know that I would maintain a second actual full squat weight on my back type session, but it might be some other form of like lower leg, hip, quad training that actually spares the back using something like a belt squat or a pit shark or something like that. And then, as far as how much deadlifting to be doing, that's definitely going to be a pretty individual thing because I don't actually think that for most people to quote unquote optimize their deadlift performance, that they need to be like deadlifting 3 times a week or something like that. When my deadlift was at its absolute strongest, I was deadlifting twice a week, I was squatting twice a week, and then on other days of the week, there were some accessory movements that could kind of sort of look like those things, but they were very much accessory movements. So like I was routinely deadlifting, pulling singles in the range of, upper 600, 700 range and a bunch of back off sets twice a week on once conventional and once sumo. But my accessory day or whatever would have been like maybe sets of 8 to 12 RDLs with like anywhere from 275 to 315. And like I literally never went heavier than that because that wasn't the intent of that movement slot. Um, and so I think that if I were doing, I would probably drop down to squatting once a week. I would deadlift twice a week, once, in the main style, maybe once in a similar or potentially more different variation. And then definitely if the person's a sumo deadlifter, put a ton more quad work in that spares the back. If they're a conventional deadlifter, that's going to be a little bit less of important of a thing. At which point I'm more like, hey, when I watch you pull, do we have any kind of obvious limiters, or is it just like you need to get stronger overall?